So Dennis Dodd had this story on CBSSports.com earlier today. College football playoff redesign could come soon. We know that. Including the idea of supercharged championship Saturday play-ins. So he goes over the possibility that there's going to be a tweak, even maybe possibly next year, and what they do going forward. One format being discussed, and of course everybody's been at the AFCA convention in Charlotte and the national championship weekend in Atlanta. One format being discussed is so-called play-in games during the regular season that would decide at least some of the automatic qualifiers in the field. Championship Saturday could be enhanced by not only the number 1 and number 2 seeds playing for the league title, but teams in the conference below them playing for other automatic bids from the conference. Think of the top 6 teams in, let's just say, the Big Ten. Oregon would play Penn State for the championship. 6th ranked or seeded Iowa would play number 3 seed Indiana, number 5 Illinois against number 4 Ohio State. They would actually, there's an idea that's out there, and again, I don't know, there's probably ways we could shoot bullets in this. The winner of those 3 games advanced to be a part of the college football playoff. And they would also want some sort of a, well, wait a minute, the number 2 seed loses to the number 1 seed. What about them? Will they then get in before one of the other teams, or is that going to be an at-large berth?
Well, then if they're going to get in, then why are the 1 and 2 teams playing?
Why are you risking Ohio State losing to effing Illinois to get a playoff spot?
They're trying. It's too much. They're trying to reinvent the wheel.
The 3 winners would advance to the college football playoff. It is not known if or how a 4th automatic qualifier would be added. The 4th team could come from the additional play-in game or merely include the championship game loser.
But why play the game if 3 of the 4 teams are going to make it anyway?
Rich Clark. I've heard rumors of it. I've studied it. I haven't studied it. Ultimately, the Big Ten and the SEC decision on how they play within their conference and a commissioner decision is up to them on how they want to put teams into the playoff.
I mean, like it says in the very first 4 words of this article, first 3 words, it's from last month. We talked about this a little bit, the idea of turning conference championship games into like another de facto mini tournament. So I don't want to hear anything about there's too many games. They're trying to add more games. They're trying to add wild card play-in games to get like a 5th team in for the Big Ten or for the SEC or a 2nd team for the Big 12 or whatever. Yeah, I need more details other than let's slap 6 teams together in 3 games and there's some type of elimination that doesn't make exact sense, that doesn't really seem like it's worth the risk for the Big Ten to have Ohio State teetering against a 6th team in the conference, so that maybe Illinois can make the playoff, but yet Ohio State would probably still make the playoff, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I need more details on this, but, I mean, to put it down to its basic, I've seen the – Well, the SEC champ doesn't even play in the SEC championship game. It's the other 2, and they're playing for it. But the thing is those other 2 are already in too. Let's start off with the fact that, at least 3 teams from 2 leagues are in every single year, no matter what. And you could probably say 4. So who's playing to get a playoff spot? The 5th and 6th teams? Do we really need that? I don't, personally, and I'm one who, will go up against the complaints of there's too much college football and all of that. That to me is not too much college football. It just doesn't make really much sense other than just slapping something together and putting a fancy thing on it and trying to make it like draw eyeballs and I don't know. I don't see the point of it when you've already got the advantages that you do. I just don't see the angle here for anybody other than. I mean, I really don't know what. I don't know other than money. Like honestly,
again, why are we playing games when the top teams are going to get in anyway? Like what does that do?
That is not necessarily. You would think that with Penn State loses to Oregon.
So why would I agree to that if I'm Ohio State and I know that again, Ohio State, the most consistent, dominant program in the Big Ten. Most consistent of all the Big Ten. So I know that most years that I'm going to be up at the top. And this year they had a little bit of a struggle to get there because they got popped twice in the regular season. And then they went on to win it. Why would I add another, chance to do that? Like if I had a risk.
There's a possibility that let's just say with those two conferences alone, that there would be four more games played.
All right, here's my immediate problem with this thing. All right, so in his examples, you have 3 Big Ten games, and you've got your championship game, and both those teams are going to the playoff, undoubtedly. Then you've got 6 versus 3, Iowa versus Indiana. Okay, why? Why are we making Indiana have to play in? And I guess you get somebody in regardless, but would you really want to risk your better team potentially getting upset and then Iowa makes the field? Is that the best playoff field? But they earned it, right? And then Illinois is playing Ohio State. I mean, I get just trying to add intrigue. This would certainly add intrigue. This would certainly add you lose and you're out, but I just don't think they'd be out. Like if Ohio State lost to Illinois and they're the 3rd best team in the Big Ten, you mean to tell me Ohio State's probably not still getting in the playoff?
Well, but wait a minute. If they're going to get 3 or 4 automatic bids, you have Oregon, Penn State are in, no matter who wins. The winner between Iowa, Indiana in. The winner between Illinois and Ohio State in. And Ohio State in that case would not be any more than 5th if they were to lose that game.
So my point is, so you're telling me the 3rd-seeded Ohio State gets upset in this play-in game and they're still not going to be in the playoff? Of course, what is going to happen? There's going to be an uproar they were 11-1 during the regular season and the quarterback had a tweaked butt cheek and Illinois beat them and upset them. They still deserve to be in the, that's immediately what I think of. Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is worth kicking around, but this particular format, I just don't think it makes much sense to make the playoff. But I don't know. It's interesting, I guess.
What I wish they could do, and I don't see how they can.
They're trying really hard. It's like the NBA trying really hard to create interest.
The men's, yes, exactly.
Let's change the fields. Let's make it to where turf is camo, and let's do a in-season play-in tournament. And let's do
you win conference tournaments, you're in the tournament. Yeah. You're in the tournament, but there's 68 teams now. You can be really, really good in a regular season and be knocked out one and done. Baylor, the year they won the national title, that happened, right, against Oklahoma State. I think they had a first-round bye in the Big 12 tournament. But you do have to win to get in. But they do have at-large in their 68 teams. So I don't know. To me, that's just muddying up what already is a little bit too confusing.
I think this super convoluted idea. I think there's other ideas you could have. I think this particular idea, though, just doesn't make much sense. I think if you're just trying to create stuff, like I said with the NBA, let's put some 17-year-old artist from LA's design on the Lakers court, and that'll draw eyeballs. And let's do an in-season, regular season tournament for a championship that nobody really honestly cares about. And that'll draw eyeballs. They're desperate. I don't think college football's at that point where they got to gimmick it up when they're already kind of gimmicking it up with the playoff to begin with. Doing a Final Four and doing that, I think there's some level of interest there for me. But I just, how did we go from conference championship games don't matter to let's have 3 de facto conference championship matchups at the end of the year? I don't understand how we went from one place to the other. Let's eliminate the conference championship games was a conversation 2 days ago. And then now it's Dodd's bringing this back from months ago or last month, but now it's 3 conference championship elimination playoff games. That just seems to be going in the opposite direction. But I do think it's all worth kicking around. I do think the conversation around playoff seeding and all of that needs to continue, but I just automatically see like numerous issues with this particular format.
All right, well, we also never had really, again, you said he brought this up, he brought it back in again today or this week, but maybe it's so weird we're just like, no, we can't do that. Like whoever would have thought the NFL was going to play 18 games, which they'll do here pretty soon, or that they would have more wild card teams. That in the NBA, you can win a division, but that doesn't mean a damn thing because they seed it by conferences now. Why do they do that, Paul? Why does the NBA, unlike any other league that I know of, seed their playoffs based on conference seeding rather than if you win a division, you get something extra with that?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know why? Because, and they're the one league that I think went to it, is that, well, it's cyclical. The Western Conference one year was much better than the Eastern Conference, and they had 6 really, really good teams. In baseball, the AL East is usually stronger, but sometimes it might be the Central or somewhere else. They haven't really gone to that. You win a division, you get something out of that. Yeah, I think in every league, I know the NFL you do, you win a division, you could be, who was the team that won the division? The Rams. They were 10-7, but they still were able to get home field advantage because they did win the division. There was something with that. I think this looks almost so far-fetched. You're going, there's no way. There's no way this is not going to work.
I mean, I don't think the NBA is necessarily the guideline to go by either.
No, I don't like what they do. I don't like that, but that's why they did it.
Right, but, I mean, I pointed out a couple of the examples. I mean, yeah, it's just trying to stay fresh and probably artsy and stylish and all of that to some extent, but I also think they're the league that clearly is trying to find any gimmick they can to make things remain interesting in the regular season for their all-star game. Like the only thing that they aren't like trying to figure out how to increase interest in is their actual playoffs. But the regular season is close to meaningless. That's why they had to do an in-season tournament, which I don't even know if that affected the ratings or not. I know it's not made a dent in the casual fan whatsoever, the in-season tournament. And part of that is doing the courts and trying to change it up and drum it up differently and make it feel different and special. And maybe that catches fire. I don't know. But that's not who I would be taking my cues from because their regular season matters less than probably anybody's in a lot of ways. So that's not what college football needs to follow because their regular season is far more important. Again, this is one idea of probably a million of them. It's just that you got like 2 sentences in, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. This is silly and convoluted. So give me a different example of how you would have elimination-style games. Like I've seen take the Final Four. 1 plays 4, 3 plays 2, and then those 2 meet the following weekend. But, again, that's more games. So that's going to be a part of the conversation. I just personally, I don't have like a major issue with – I guess maybe I'm just too old in that I don't need you to, like, fancy this thing up. Like, it's pretty clear to me the top 2 teams make their conference championship game. They play. That team's the conference championship winner, whoever wins that game. And then I get you're trying to, like, clear up the rest of the seeding of the playoff based on all of 1 year of example. But this just seems like, again, if Ohio State loses this playing game – it even says in this, well, it doesn't determine what would possibly happen. So you don't even guarantee that the loser wouldn't still make the playoffs. So what's the point of just getting a 5th team in for the Big Ten? Like, I'm sorry, but me personally, that doesn't interest me. Maybe it interests the Northeast, though. And they would love to see Illinois have that shot at Ohio State so the Illini could become the 5th Big Ten team in the playoff. But for me personally, I could just do without all of that and just let the committee decide the teams and let's argue about it afterwards.
All right, so there we are with that. And just ideas eventually. Yeah. And by the way, there are more games played in that format, and it still creates controversy. But it would be great if you could get your 12-team field, whatever it is. If games that you won in a bracket style got you to that's another bracket style, but it's hard to do that. And somebody mentioned, well, if you're in this article, if you win your conference regular season championship, all right, I can think of one problem immediately. Not everybody plays everybody because the conferences are so large, 16, 17, 18 teams. Who's going to be decided if 2 teams go 9-0? Who's your regular season champion if they didn't play each other? So there's always but maybe as they just keep kind of like playing with a little bit of dough that you could mold something that would make sense.
Yeah, I'm all for being open-minded and tweaking things. I'm not against it. I'm not a stickler for tradition per se, and that's pretty much all out the window at this point anyways. I mean, there's very little of like the older tradition that still even remains. I mean, we're in a freaking 12-team playoff, and after 1 year, they're already basically telling you like, hey, it's going to be 14 in the next 2 years. Like, they're already telling us that. There's a lot of talk about the conference title games, but I feel like most of the talk's more towards why do we have them versus let's make a mini tournament out of the conference championship games. But I have seen that idea. So, yeah, these will be ideas that get kicked around. And this one, though, I just don't think makes a lot of sense. There's too many holes in this one for me, like I said. So give me some other options, and I'll be open-minded and give y'all my thoughts when those pop up. But this one, I'm a no-go on this particular version.
All right.